Hey y'all, I just wanted to come talk to y'all a little bit today about friendship. You know, I've been blessed in my life to have some wonderful, sweet, kind friends. I've had some that'll stab you in the back, but we're not going to talk about them right now. We're going to talk about friends. You know, of course, Jesus is my dearest friend. He died for me. He loves me. He takes care of me. And I'm going to promise you, this past year, there was times I felt like, where is my friend? He's not here. But I can look back and I can see he is here. It's been a struggle. But I was talking to my oldest son the other day. He was talking about, because we were talking about work. And he said, well, your bills are paid. Y'all, there was times this year, I don't know how our bills got paid. But God took care of them. And that's been a blessing to have a friend like that loves us that much in hard times. On this earth, my dearest friend was Randy. He was a friendly man. He was funny. I have to tell, when we first got married, he would meet somebody for the first time, and he would come home and talk about, that's my best friend. And I'm thinking, you just met him. And y'all, he did that a lot. I finally just had said, Randy, they're not your best friend. You just met them. Why do you call them your best friend? And he did get out of that habit. He did, but it was funny. Another time we were I think we were dating. And we just come out of a little convenience store, got gas or something, I don't know, something to drink or something. And a guy that he had went to school with and was friends with was coming into the store as we was coming out. And I think his name was, I don't remember his name. But anyway, I'm just going to use some names. His name was Mark. And Randy introduced him as Todd. And the guy kind of looked at him, and Randy got in trouble. He said, you know, his name wasn't Mark, it was Todd. And I got tickled at him. I said, yeah, you're so young and already losing your memory. But that was just little jokes about being, little memories of Randy, how funny he was to me. Anyway, like I said, Randy was my best friend, other than, Jesus. But it's been wonderful because as our children were young, they needed us as parents. But as adults, they no longer need us like they once did. But to develop a friendship with our boys and with our daughter-in-law, it just means the world. And so, they're my best friends now. When I have a problem or I need prayer, I go to them and I tell them, a lot of times it was crying over this past year. And there's still times I cry. Oh my goodness, there's times I cry, but they just know that I miss their daddy. So I'm going to tell you about some friends. When Randy was in the hospital, we had a lot of people, very kind, come to visit us. Those were the people that we knew. One day, we had a mother and a daughter come, and we knew them, and they came to visit. And I don't remember if they came in after this man or before this man, but this man came in, and he sat down, and he introduced himself, and I don't remember his name. And he told Randy, he said, we went to school together. Y'all, that was 40 years ago. How was Randy supposed to know him? He didn't remember him. There was a lot of people. Randy had a big school. But Randy couldn't place that name. He didn't know the guy. And the guy said, yeah, we went to school together. Anyway, he stayed for a while and he left. Y'all, I've always heard that there are people who, when someone's dying, will come to visit just to look, to see. And I don't feel like that about the other visitors, but I felt that in my spirit towards that man. I don't remember if he come another time. I think he did. I'm not sure. But I do know the last time he came either 2 or 3 times. But the last time he came, I want to say Randy and I watched the young'uns, but I watched the young'uns and Randy and Elizabeth slept. And when their mama, she had to take the baby to the doctor and do some other things. And when she got through, she called me. And I told her, I said, don't get out. It was cold. I said, I'll bring the babies out there to you. So, because I had, the oldest 3 were doing school. And like I said, Elizabeth and Randy took a nap. And we just visited with the grandbabies. And so when it was over, I was walking out of the hospital and I seen that guy. And he was coming in. And I thought, He said, is he awake? I said, yeah, he's awake. Thinking, I don't want you to go in there. But I didn't say it. So we went on and I took the babies. And when I come back, the man wasn't there. And I asked Randy, I said, Randy, that guy was here. He said, yeah, he come, got right in my face, bit down and looked at me and said, you don't remember me? Randy said, no. Come to find out, he had graduated a year before Randy. But Randy still didn't remember him. So that was a weird experience. And maybe that... Well, at the end, as Randy was getting closer to death, he got tireder and tireder. Does that sound right? Tired-er and tired-er. Oh, anyway, he was getting tired. He had to have some sleep. Let's just put it like that. And he had had so many visitors that he went 4 days without walking because we just constantly had people in there. And so we finally had talked to the nurse who said he's got to have some rest. He's got to have some time to walk. So she put a note on the door. She talked to the staff. She put a note up there saying from 2 to 4, no visitors because he's sleeping. And no staff supposed to come in. The nurse had come in early. That particular Saturday, the nurse had come in a little bit earlier, and she said, well, she had other rounds to do. She said, but I'm going to check on him before 2 o'clock. And so 2 o'clock come around, and she didn't make it back, which was fine. It was time for him to go to sleep. The note was right there at the doorknob for the staff not to come in, or no visitors. Well, housekeeping. Now listen, we had wonderful housekeeping. When we were in 2 different rooms, and we were in a small room, and then they moved us into the bigger room. When we got moved to the bigger room, the girl that we had become attached to in housekeeping, she didn't clean our room. And there was another girl that did it, and she wasn't quite as friendly. But anyway, this particular day, instead of reading the note on the door, she hits the door with the cart. And Randy and I are looking at each other. She opens the door, comes in at 2 o'clock, starts cleaning the room. And she leaves the door wide open. Well, this particular man came in. I hadn't seen him in over 20 years, or right at 20 years probably. Randy said he's seen him around and around, but he particularly came that day to visit. And he didn't see the sign on the door because the door had been left open. And he came in, and Randy tried to tell him, that it was rest time, and he didn't get it. And so when the girl finished cleaning the room, he got the chair and pulled it up close to Randy and just sat there. And we're thinking, yeah, it's 2 to 4. You're not supposed to be here. He was wore out. It just took a lot just to exist at that time. And so I told Randy, I said, I'm going to go out and look for the nurse. And I walked the hall, didn't see her, and didn't see the techs or anybody. And so I came back in, and I said, I don't see her. And we're still trying to hint to him that it's nap time. He needs rest. Randy was yawning. I mean, he couldn't help it. He just wore out. And finally, Randy said, would you hand her the phone? Because I couldn't get to the phone. And he handed me the phone, and I called the nurse, and I said, did you need to check on Randy before he went to sleep? She said, no, I'm fine. And so I hung up, and I thought, well, that didn't work. Well, she got to thinking And she said, you know, I think she just tried to tell me she needed me. And so she sent the tech in there, and the tech seen the man, and she asked him, she said, would you step out for a minute? And, you know, of course we told him he was visiting, but we told her what had happened with the maid coming in, and then he came in and didn't see the note, and we couldn't get him to get the hint to leave. And so she went back out there and told him, said, you're going to have to go. And he said, well, kind of tell him bye. So he came in and he said, they're making me leave. And we just kind of nodding our head. Yeah, it's his rest time. And because, I mean, you know how it is in the hospital. You're awake day and night because they're constantly coming in. And, you know, we both there around the clock. There was nowhere to go. And we was tired and we needed rest. And he really needed rest. And so he left. Randy had a friend that they talked. They had been friends for, oh my goodness, I know probably around 20, 25 years of knowing each other. And they seen each other around and about working. You know, one would get one a job, one would give the other one a job, and you know, they were friends. They'd been hunting together, they'd been fishing together. The whole family went fishing, bow fishing or something. Anyway, and so it's just, you know, our boys. He knew about our boys. Randy talked about our boys, our family, to him all the time, and they talked every day during the week, Monday through Friday. And sometimes Randy would get a call on Saturday and say, hey, you're not supposed to call you on Saturday. He's not supposed to call you on Saturday. And then if we go on vacation, and I remember our last vacation he called, I said, he's not going to get to talk to you today. You're mine today. But I think he did talk to him while we were gone, because I know he was talking to customers. But anyway, this guy, it was probably an hour and a half just from his house to the hospital. Now, if he had been on a job and came up, you know, it was still a drive for him. Even if he just come to town to get supplies from the supply house and said, oh, I'm going to go by and see Randy, it was still a 30-minute drive one way to come see Randy. But he was pretty faithful. He was pretty faithful about coming to see Randy. He would, usually every week or week and a half to 2 weeks, he was there to see Randy. And a lot of times the family was there or something, and the kids just, it took the grandbabies, he would ride them on his leg as a horsey and stuff. Well, anyway, that particular day when this guy had left and Randy finally got to sleep, it was about it was pretty close to probably 4:30, somewhere along there, when Randy finally got to sleep. Maybe it'd been 3:30, something like that. Anyway, he texted and he said, I'm here to visit Randy. And I said, he just got to sleep. I hated to tell him that. Because I knew it was such a long drive, and it was a Saturday. And so, so he wasn't coming for the supply house because that was closed. He, you know, that long drive, one way, hour and a half from his house, he'd come to visit Randy. And I just couldn't wake Randy up because, you know, he needed that rest. Well, he texts me back. Now, when you come into the hospital, you come in from a walkway. And then there's the elevators and just a foyer there. And all you had was 2 chairs. And he texted me. He said, well, I'm just going to sit here and wait on him. And I thought, you're going to wait on Randy? It might be a while. Well, he did. I didn't tell Randy. I didn't bother Randy. He took a nap. And an hour and a half later, after he texted me, Randy finally woke up. And he was still there waiting in that foyer on Randy to visit with him. And he came in and he stayed hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know, a good while. And it just impressed on me how dear of a friend that was to Randy. That's what friendship is. He could have said, okay, well, I've come this long and they won't let me in. Or he could have been ugly. He could have said, oh, I'm going to go home now. But he waited. Even though he had that long drive, he still waited. And it just, it meant the world to Randy to see him. But it made impression on me for his friendship for Randy. He was actually one of Randy's pallbearers. And to me, that goes to show what a dear friend is. For me, Randy had a customer. It was a husband and wife, and he had done pump work for him, drill wells for him. And Randy had come home one day and said that her husband had passed away. Now, I had been to their house, but I had never seen them or met them. It was usually Randy went in the house and talked to them. So I knew their names. I knew where they stayed. And Randy come home and tell me that her husband had passed away. And she happened to call when Randy was in the hospital. And I told her, I said, well, she had pump problems. And I said, well, Randy's in the hospital. I said, but Daniel will come out. And she asked me what was wrong. And I told her. And she called. She might not get to talk to me right then and there. She would leave it on the answer machine. And when I come in at night, I would get it and go call her the next day. And so she would call, check on him. She sent us a card to the hospital, and it was just very sweet of her to the concern. Well, the day we buried Randy, I was at the gravesite, and this lady came up to me, and she told me her name, and it just shocked me because she had come to looking back on the videos, she was at the funeral, and she had come to the graveside, and we developed a friendship, and she knew what I was going through. I know what she's going through. She knows what I'm going through, and she's been through it. And so we get together and go out to eat and just kind of hang around together some because, both of our better halves are not here anymore. And so she's become a very dear friend to me. So it's just funny how God puts people in our lives sometime that ends up being so dear to us. And I thank God for friendship. I thank God for the friends that have been friends to Randy. Two of the guys, the one I was just telling you about and another one, were pallbearers. And those are the ones that my boys talked to. I told them, carry on your daddy's legacy with these men because these men loved your daddy and your daddy loved them. And so they'll call him as a dishwasher. So they call him and check on him and just want to keep the friendship going because, that's what Randy would have expected his boys to call him, check on them and make sure they're okay and stuff like that. So, but yeah, God did a good thing when he made friends. Thank y'all and take care. God bless.